Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk. My name is Utile. I'm here with Nigel, Dan, and Malakye. We're here at 1340 a.m. at KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio. Looking forward to Friday. On Friday, my son Malakye, who's 16, is going to bring one or more of his peers, some young dudes, and that has a lot to do with Schoolhouse Radio. It is developed specifically to empower young people like you, my son. So, son, happy Wednesday to you.
Hello, Father.
Hello. You can say hello to everybody out there that's listening to us. Thank you, everyone, for your attention, whether you're listening here live on the AM radio or we do broadcast to many social media sites just to reach out to more people and have an audience to share with. We like to start our program off with talking about the future. So, son, you're the young one. I often like to say that your generation is not the next generation. You're not the future generation. You are the present generation, and you can make as big of an impact as you want. It's up to you. Many people in the past were your age or even younger that completely transformed the world. I said when I was doing the keynote in Manila last week, I said, a person that wants to change the world lights himself on fire and everyone comes to watch him burn. Obviously not physically, that would be a bummer, but in a sense, to do something that's so profound that people all want to come look, maybe even participate. Mm-hmm. So when you think about the future, son, and you try to maintain an optimistic view of it, why don't you share some thoughts with us this morning?
Well, I think the first thing on my mind is that I think my generation is one of the most unique ones to ever exist. I was talking with my grandma this morning, actually, about how all the people alive right now, I think, have lived some of the most unique lives so far in all of humanity. My grandma's generation, they have been the last ones to kind of live without the widely adopted technology, and they would still go outside and play. And then your generation was really the last to fully go outside and play. And then you got to see things happen like technology start, and then it just ramp up from here. And then my generation is the first to live without just go outside and play, where now we live with the kind of I use screens and like you would never tell a kid 60 years ago, come on, get off your screens. Like that's very new. And that whole concept, I think that it's not going to be a bad thing. And I think it's going to be something that's very good later on. And I'm excited to see what changes with the next generation. Like, is it going to be like, come on, get off of the, stop talking to AI, like get out of the brain interface, or like stop going into the metaverse, something like that, where people have so many options now to do whatever they want that it's going to seem so wild for something now, or even from like more drastically like 60 years ago. And so that's the kind of thought I think I'm having right now. And I'm just excited to see what comes of it. And I think it's going to be really good.
What do you think, sweet one?
Oh, thank you. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday to you, and just so glad to be here. I'll go ahead and follow up on what Malakye is saying. I think that we have an incredible opportunity today with the technology that's happening from past creative artists that have taken so much time. You think of just maybe screenplays or writing of a movie. Past days would take years. Maybe they'd go into a can and never even be produced. But with the advent of today's AI agents and things that have progressed, we've been able to pull this history from having something that, could take months or years to maybe even think of and produce, to having something produced possibly in a day. So I think not just in an entertainment world, I think that our history is catching up with us so quickly that we are going to be having a hard time creating new history because it's going to go by so quick. Everything's changing every day. So with that, I hope that everyone's able to embrace that, and let's move forward. Let's charge.
Let's make some history as humanity.
Let's make some history. Gratitude champion, jump in.
Hi,
Yes,
Nigel.
sir. Hello, everyone. Happy Wednesday. Happy Hump Day. We made it. What comes to mind immediately to me is just how we consume entertainment, really. Growing up in New York and having Broadway there and off Broadway and other things, I was fortunate enough to get an opportunity to go and see a lot of live shows and people performing. But I think about how things are now, where back in the days, you would have to wait until your show actually was released one episode at a time. And now everything is, I got to binge. I have to binge watch everything. And every now and again, depending on the platform, if you don't want to wait, you watch your shows weekly. And I started doing that with just a few things, and I rather enjoyed it. But I think it might have been just part of the nostalgia of doing that. And that plus, you look at older shows that have become popular again, or older music that has become popular again, that maybe wasn't embraced at all back then. Hip hop, I could give you endless examples. But you look at what was going on in that period of time, and you really see the advancements. You see people with a brick phone, or a flip phone, and you're like, wow, people use that. Or you see a pay phone, like, wow, so I think the wonder of being able to experience theater or a movie that was, 20, 30, 40 years ago. And if you're a little bit older, you don't even realize how old it is. And seeing how the technology changed, I think that's really remarkable. So I look forward to seeing what the future holds in terms of how that plays out.
Yeah, what you're talking about made me think of something I saw like a week or so ago, of how a bunch of Gen Z kids, like thousands or something, it's like a trend right now where they're buying and using the old phones, like the old flip phones.
Interesting.
So I forget which brand, because it used to be like there's so many brands.
Nokia.
Yeah, I think it was
Razr.
Nokia. But it's kind of like a
BlackBerry.
trend where kids are like, oh my gosh, look at this old thing. But for people probably who are only like 10, 20 years older than me, they're like, yeah, I used to have this kind of cool phone, and they had this kind of cool phone.
Right.
But now it's like everyone's kind of funneled into just these few select brands. But it's kind of funny that people as a whole always try and go back to history because of trends in a sense.
We don't usually become enslaved by automation and technology, if ever. So if you just look at transportation as one example, we start off with horses. We then move to vehicles. They're very manual, very difficult, very challenging. Finally, we get vehicles to where they can mass produce them, and we get better at being able to have shops to maintain them. Then we get electric vehicles. Now electric vehicles drive us, and we're on the precipice of no longer having a driver's seat at all. So when we think about automation and technology in the future, I think we should try to maintain a historic mind that says when automation continues to grow and enhance and become better and better and better and better over time, humanity does not have a tendency to become a slave to it, but humanity has a tendency to find ways for it to better serve us, to free up our time. Therefore, in the near future, we won't even have to drive anymore. We'll be able to sit in a car or a vehicle, and all four seats facing one another, and we can do beachside tech talk as we drive from here to there.
Right. Or anything else.
Or anything else. Right. So I think it's important because it's really easy to have a dystopic view of what is to come. But I believe that if you look at the way things have rolled out over the last millennia, many millennia, even just the last century or so, you'll find that humanity has a way of leveraging automation technology and using it for our good. And so I always try to maintain that thought process, because movies and TV, as we just talked about that, it messes with our minds so badly. It gets us to believe that the worst is yet to come. It gets us to believe that dystopia's coming, Terminator's coming. Things are going to get bad. Things are going to get worse. We're going to lose our jobs. We're going to all be a slave to the machine.
Shock trauma is the
Right.
easiest engagement. You shock trauma, or you create chaos.
That's
or you
right.
Create a disturbance, and all eyes and ears perk up. Your hair stands up. What's going on actually? So you have that. What do they call it when you drive by and look at an accident?
Right.
You just like have to watch or take.
And that's why news is so negative,
Yeah.
because negative news gets people to
Right.
tune in.
I had the thought last night. My family and us were watching the movie Napoleon Dynamite. I don't really know how to describe it. I mean, a kid, he's on the spectrum in some kind of way. He's kind of a little slow, and he's just living his crazy life.
It was a funny movie.
Yeah. And it was funny, but I've realized that a lot of movies, and I don't know why it's so normalized in movie culture, but they have this sense of like you're allowed to make fun of people. And I think that I want to just try and learn to kind of avoid that and learn to watch things to make me happy and feel joy-filled.
That's why you got so many choices.
That's right. We'll be back again in just a moment here at 1340 AM.
Choices.
Hello, friends on the internet. Nigel.
Friends on the internet. Okay.
That's where it's at right now. We don't have a name for all of our, I like to say bitch and beachsiders, but that's kind of a Santa Cruz term. So.
Did you come up with that one?
Hey,
Hey, look who it is.
How's the weather over in Florida right now, Nigel?
It's hot.
It's hot. Okay.
But I've been waking up early and going on walks
Florida
before it gets to I went for a walk at 6 a.m. this morning. It was 80 degrees already.
You're on the Gulf side, so you don't get that ocean breeze. Like you don't get that Atlantic breeze over, because you on the other side, on that west side of Florida, down in the Panhandle, right?
Yeah. 80 degrees. It was at 6 a.m. when I walked. I was like, man.
6 a.m., 80 degrees.
80.
Whoa.
I mean, Redding's worse. Redding's like 108 at 6
Yeah.
a.m. That place is brutal.
Seriously?
Yeah.
Yeah. You don't remember?
I remember
108?
At 6 a.m., it's so brutal.
You go out from breakfast and you're like sweating. Hey, did I miss something?
When your shins sweat. Bullets.
How much hot sauce did I eat?
Yeah.
Man.
Yeah, Redding is unique. It has its own climate. It's in around all these different mountain ranges. It's in Shasta County, and it's the second sunniest place in the world. Only like Desert Valley has more sunny days than Redding, but it has this crazy amount of heat, and the Sacramento River kind of flows through it like a snake. They have more water in the water table than they have in the Shasta Lake. It's a really unique place, but man, oh man, is it hot there.
Got some serious air conditioning going on over there.
More water in the water table, but yeah.
The water table is underneath us.
It's because of the snowfall that they have in the mountains up in the Shasta Siskiyou Mountains is that.
Yeah.
It's called.
All right, everybody, here we go. We're going back, talking AI. Nigel, I'll go to you first.
Okie doke.
You got it, the champion.
Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk here at 1340 AM, home of Schoolhouse Radio in the Monterey Bay. My name is Ian. I'm here with my son Malakye, my brother Dan, and Nigel. Nigel, we like to talk about AI during our second segment, the present impact of AI. What is on your mind, my friend? Have you seen any cool things popping up in the news in the last day or last week? We'd love to hear what's got your mind spinning right now.
Okay, I'm gonna do three things, and I'm gonna do them super fast. So
no, give us four. We want four. You start with
four.
2. You went 3. I'm pulling for 4.
All right. Well, let me see if I can get them all done. Okay. So the first one is that AI doesn't always work. It's it says it right on the label. It says these answers might be wrong, so check them. I think that's fascinating. So I encourage people to beware of these things and not just take outputs at face value. The other thing, which dovetails from what was talked about before in terms of looking for good news. They say you're going to look, whatever you look for, you're going to find, right? So one of the experiments I was doing, or case studies I was doing, was just looking for good news. And I realized that the training data, or the manner in which AI is set up, it's just so polarizing that even when you specifically ask for only good news, it'll still give you things that are not. Like, here's a specific example that happened. I said, just tell me about the good news in Tampa that was going on. And I said, don't give me anything negative, anything remotely negative. I mean, this prompt was super long, super specific, super explicit. It said everything that you could think of to not have bad news. And then it basically said, yeah, I know what you told me, but this guy got murdered at a meat store, a couple of, blocks. And I was like, what? Like, how? So
where's the hero in that story?
I didn't get it. I was like, how could you do this? But I think the message I'm trying to convey is this. I think, one, we need to be very careful and accountable for what we take away from the internet responses. There needs to be checks and balances. I think one thing that can be helpful is building that into whatever prompts you're doing, like build in some double checks to make it a little bit easier for you to do the things for you to reconcile what is actually happening, because it'll lean, just like a human, it'll lean into the easiest answer. So if you have a bunch of stuff that needs to be, consolidated, and you have something that says final, it'll be like, yeah, this is the answer, but that's not necessarily it. And then what's even funnier is, at times, and I see this a lot with ChatGPT actually, you'll say, yeah, that's not what I asked for. And it'll be like, oh, my bad. And it feels like a human, like stuff that humans do that, is not helpful. So
Bad, and then does it again.
Basically, but but at the same time, I think that if you go through the motions and you just take your time and you understand upfront that AI technology in general, it just doesn't always work, I think you'll fare better in the long run. That plus
Almost nothing always
understanding
works.
that there's
That's
endless
right.
opportunities for
work.
you to learn stuff. So that's what I see. That's what I've been seeing. I don't know if that was 4, but here we are.
I'm gonna stretch that. That was 5. That was a good
Okay.
solid 5 out of 5, Nigel. If we're on a rating system, Dan, what comes to mind? What are you seeing right now with AI today, this week, this month? What's sparking interest for you?
I'm seeing the individuality of the platforms. Like Nigel may have mentioned just a minute ago, you try next prompt that you do, try and put it into a couple of different platforms and really observe the answers. They'll lean towards whatever that company or that platform is, I believe, moving their forward momentum towards. So there's some platforms that will maybe move more towards business, or move more towards creativity, or will answer you more in a humanistic way. But I think that for me, the AI is just moving in a way to where I'm trying to still just get it to figure out how it's going to help me more, how to help me think more, maybe settle my day, try and do a schedule or a plan and stick to it. I haven't been able to get it onto my calendar yet where it's able to actually set an alarm for me, but I know that it's somewhere in there. So I look forward to working hand in hand with our AI agents promptly.
How about for you, Malakye?
What exactly is the questione?
What's sparking interest for you right now with AI? Anything you've seen in the last day or last week?
I think I'm curious to whether it's going to be soon that AI is going to fully start to make its own ideas, or whether that's going to happen in a long time because it's going to turn out to be super difficult. I'm curious because it's kind of like the most important thing relating to AI.
Yeah.
It's kind of what I was talking about yesterday, but I don't know. What do you think about that?
Well, I think that ultimately people are going to engage with AI the way that they want to. I think it's easy to see AI in both a positive and a negative light. And I think sometimes people miss some of the things that are happening that are optimistic and positive. So yesterday we talked a little bit about stuff in the Bay Area. I want to mention a couple cool news stories that are happening here in Santa Cruz. The Santa Cruz County Board of Supervisors just recently passed what many would call a forward-thinking AI policy. So this is aimed at both embracing innovation and protecting residents' data privacy. So this marks one of the region's very first steps into ethical, community-centered AI governance.
That's
It's like
Santa
that.
Cruz?
Yeah, this is just
That's
happened with Santa Cruz
important.
Board of Supervisors.
That's
Yeah.
important. Awesome.
So when I said to one of these AI tools, like, give me some good news about AI today or this week. Anything in the Santa Cruz County would be ideal, because yesterday I talked about San Francisco Bay, and that's the first thing that popped up. So it wasn't murder. And so where do you guys think government plays a role? Both localized government, like the County of Supervisors in Santa Cruz, or the local Tampa Bay elected officials. Where do you think California government out of Sacramento, or Florida's state government, where does the federal government lie? Is there a role for a global government oversight, a global UN oversight? How do you guys feel about AI governance, ethical AI, protecting people's data? What's on your mind in that regard?
I think there's different routes this can take. I want to make a kind of example relating to cars. So when you were talking about electric vehicles earlier and how soon they're going to be driving us, I'd thought of how it seems that the DMV might have a bit of a conflict of interest, because the DMV, they want to be teaching people how to drive and they want all that to happen. But if we have self-driving cars, they don't really have a use. But yet they're the ones who decide if those laws and things are allowed to pass, at least from my knowledge. And I think that AI could go down a route that looks similar to that. And although I do think self-driving cars will definitely inevitably happen, and I think it's going to be quite soon just because it's so obvious, I do think that there's a possibility for AI to have that. But I don't think it's the most likely. I think the most likely, because of how big it's gotten with such low regulation, is that the regulation will slowly come in, and hopefully it'll be the right ones that it should be. Things will happen the way they should, and hopefully there's a route for everybody to have their own AI that's for them personally.
Okay. Yeah, I think that, or I'm feeling that biggest push and probably the quickest push is going to be financial. It's going to be government agencies are going to try to come into more oversight. They just want to know and make sure that things are on their ledger books, up on the up and up, I guess you'd say.
Right.
For instance, people who have digital wallets, for the first maybe 4 or 5 years, digital wallets weren't played into the tax financial systems. And in the last couple of years, anyone who's in the cryptocurrency world, maybe you have some money invested, you might have noticed that you're getting notices from those cryptocurrency platforms, your Coinbase type of things, that are sending you a tax notice, letting you know that on this year that they are going to be sending their books and records and monies that have been moved to a tax system, i.e. your IRS. And so it's up to you to start claiming these monies. So be on the lookout for that and stay straight, keep it straight.
I always encourage everyone to obey every law of the land. We'll be back again in just a moment. Thanks for joining us here at 1340 a.m.
Sorry, I didn't get to.
I should hope you encourage them to obey the law. That's a good idea.
Yeah, well, that's not the case for a lot of people. A lot of people will try to make excuses for why they don't have to follow regulations and compliance. It's not fair. The government doesn't know what they're talking about. I live here, but I can set up my business in another country, and I don't. I don't think any of those things are wise. If people don't like the way that the laws are, they don't like regulation compliance, then they should get involved and try to help change the tide. Now, I will say that there's been a massive headwind against, especially the crypto industry, which we're about to go into. And now there's a tailwind for the first time in America ever. So yeah, there's a couple other really cool news stories. So I'll share those tomorrow. UCSC just did a major thing, and Sam Altman's WorldCoin, which is tied to OpenAI, just did.
That was Sam Altman?
No, that's a toy. Then not a separate thing. Sam Altman's team at WorldCoin just opened up their first storefront in Union.
It was right next to us. It was WorldCoin.
Not the same.
Really?
I don't think so.
It looked like the same logo though.
I don't know. You have to show me a picture.
Okay.
So now we'll talk about crypto. And I have a few things that are pulled up. Ripple, the billionaire Chris Larson, he just pledged about $10 million to San Francisco Police Department. It's not really tied directly to crypto, but it shows people can do with their money.
He must have made a lot of money and need that write off.
Yeah, maybe. And then
good donation.
There's another investment firm that just secured almost $1 billion for the Transamerica Pyramid, and that's all tied to the resurgence of the local crypto ecosystem. So that's kind of a nice, good news.
Pyramid?
Transamerica, $1 billion in San Francisco.
It's the one that has a spire on it near the Mount Hill. It's a iconic image of the Bay area.
Right. Then let's see. There's so if there's anything else in your guys' mind, I want you guys to jump in and share what you guys have seen when it comes to blockchain crypto. I'm just looking to see what else I have pulled up here. I always find it funny, all the news guys that like have papers all over their desk.
Well, they're involved.
Yeah, I mean that's what they do. That's their life.
Thing. I'm curious about that. Yeah, this. Yeah. This was the booth right next to us.
Okay.
It's the eye thing where like they're taking your iris.
Yeah, that's it.
It's kind of scary.
Scary.
I hope you join me every Friday at 2 p.m. on KOMY AM 1340, home of Schoolhouse Radio.
Okay, I think we're ready to rock and roll, everybody. Welcome back to Beachside Tech Talk here at 1340 AM, home of Schoolhouse Radio. My name is Ian Utile. I'm here with Nigel, Dan, and Malakye, and we're getting started on our segment regarding the present impact of all things Web3, blockchain, cryptocurrency, whatever name you want to use. It's all distributed ledgers.
The future.
And it's the now. There's a lot now happening right now. I mean, just yesterday we talked about a $75 million land, or a merger acquisition deal with that oil and gas company in Latin America. That was all done on the blockchain. So it's certainly in process. People, when people hold Bitcoin and Bitcoin goes up in value, everybody's like, this is the now. If they hold Bitcoin and Bitcoin drops down 30 or 40%.
What was I thinking?
What was I thinking? It's kind of funny how whatever is happening presently impacts us quite a bit in terms of what we're thinking. I will say this, there have been a lot of people that have made a lot of money. One of the guys is a guy named Chris from Ripple, which is also well known as XRP. Those are tied together. And so he just donated $9.4 million to the San Francisco Police Department. So that's an idea. Now, maybe he did it for a tax write-off, so you can try and say, well, he did it for that reason, and that's fine. I mean, I say any reason for people to be generous is fine with me.
That's still a good reason.
That's fine with me
to do.
I mean,
I think it's better than giving it to taxes.
Well, taxes would have paid for the police department. I think ultimately
it's better than giving to the salamander extinction grant.
Yeah.
That
not to be mean to any creature.
We love salamanders, but we also want our police to be protected, and we want our city of San Francisco to be protected. And there's definitely concern around a lack of respect and funding for police in California.
Does the Ripple guy live here in California?
I don't know exactly where Chris lives, but I know a lot of his team has their home base here in the San Francisco Bay Area.
That's a lot of courtesy cards.
Yes, that is true. That is true.
It's a great investment, I think.
Nothing wrong with a courtesy card. I'm all
Not
about
at all.
that
Not at
courteous
all.
life. What else has caught your guys' attention when it comes to stuff happening in crypto right now?
I saw
Well,
some.
okay.
Oh, sorry. No, Nigel, you go. I want to hear what
I-
gratitude champion has to say.
Well, thank you. I follow this guy Anthony Pompliano, and he sends out this Pomp newsletter. And
Yeah.
a couple of days ago, they were talking about how some of the founders of altcoins are pulling out some of their funds and investing in Bitcoin, which is gaining additional popularity. As I think it gets the more mainstream adoption as people see the value in it. And for me, the thing that stands out the most is I remember, because, of my time at, a really big bank, there was a pretty notable CEO, which I'm not going to name right now, who called Bitcoin a scam, but then invested heavily in it. I think, like anything else,
Just trying to drive the price down first.
yeah, I think like anything else, if you have a bully pulpit, or you have an audience or a platform, you could say anything, and it could be strategically positioned, which is why I feel like AI and Web3 and all these pieces of technology are going to be super valuable for us to be able to discern, the fact from the fiction and the wheat from the chaff and all that stuff. Like,
Yeah.
I think it's going to be important for us to get that transparent view, or at least be able to make an informed decision, because what someone says and what they do can be vastly different, because it depends on what their reasoning is, what their intent is. So I think those are things to be mindful of and watch out for. And I think people want to go with something that's stable.
Since you mentioning that word stable, I just crossed my mind that I think that there's a lot of movement in financials from fiat to crypto, and it's being based on a lot of confidence in stable coins, in USD.
Stable coins is the new hot thing.
Yeah,
right now.
it's so. I mean, if there's a government dollar that's backing a coin, you're able to use your fiat currency and, in essence, still hold on to it, and it's backed. It's not a volatile system like the actual crypto exchanges are, where your USDT or USDTC, which is just a term of digital coin that you're using backed off of your bank account. So they're opening up some great areas there and using advanced loan placements and things like that. So I think that we're going to start seeing a lot of engagement into that area in the next couple of years.
Yeah,
Yeah,
I think so.
I think I saw something saying that the U.S. government, is going to try and make their own stablecoin. I don't know if that's exactly what they're saying, but I think that'd be a good idea for them.
Well, we have a USDT already, so that is considered, but that is not the government's coin.
Yeah, that's a company.
I think that the government's already got into it hybridly. It's sort of where once you start getting into your claiming on your taxes that you have crypto and that you're going to have to pay on any gains that you've gotten for that year, then that's basically saying your federal government is, overseeing your income gains. And necessarily, if you live in a country that's as great as this one, there are taxes put in place. So we subsequently expect you to pay those taxes off of that digital currency that you have made so much money off of, or hopefully maybe not.
I traveled to several different regions and countries to work on stablecoin stuff when I was on Hedera's team. So I went out to Turkey. I went out
Hedera is big on stable, right? Like
massive,
they love
yeah.
it. They like the idea.
Well, they're big because they're the fastest blockchain.
And they work with government.
Of course, yeah. They're least expensive blockchain, the most ecologically friendly blockchain. So it's
What
very easy
is
for
Hedera?
Hedera. Hedera is more well known by HBAR, which is one of the top cryptocurrencies. They're like a $10 billion market cap. Hedera is the blockchain built for the enterprise by the enterprise. So Google, IBM, Boeing, and some of the largest companies in the world, they're the ones that are the validators. It's a permissioned blockchain. So it doesn't mean like the four of us on this show, we can't open up a validator or have an independent ledger server running at our house. Like only Google and the major companies are doing it.
Mhm.
So I would go into Turkey was one that I went and worked with them. I think it's called Libra, their local currency, trying to introduce Hedera's stablecoin studio to them back in 2023. I spent time with the central bank in the Philippines, had multiple meetings with Union Bank, the central bank, and a couple others trying to introduce that to them. And then we also had conversations with the UK government when we were there. And so that was a really amazing eye opener for me because this is 2 years ago. And we built this stablecoin studio that basically allowed any government or any central bank in a country to spin up a stablecoin like that day.
Yeah.
And we were showing them, like, if you do this with us, you don't have to use USDT built on Tether. You don't have to use USDC built on Coinbase. Like, you can have your own stablecoin. And when you have your own stablecoin, you can make 5 or 10% or more just managing that money, which is why when you buy stablecoins on Coinbase and you hold USDC on Coinbase, they will give you an APR because they want you to keep your money in USDC because that means they get that money to go do stuff on the market.
And
That's right.
Percentages of profit off of it, just like our banking system does. You throw your bank money in the bank, they give you, if you're
That's
lucky, under 1%. But little do you know that, big corporation banks, Wells Fargo, Bank of America, the $1 trillion capitals that they're able to use and move through markets as they see fit and create gains for themselves.
Yes,
So
it's,
then
it's
is
wild.
Also through their own loan processes,
Right.
They're such a big organization. But yeah, that's interesting how you say that, backing a coin off of different platforms or different agencies creates a little bit of competition. And it seems like the only thing that we need to somehow work out, which takes probably the longest time, is, a law and oversight or something that's completely unbiased and there's no loopholes for people to come in, geniuses to come in, instead of using their brilliance for humanity, they use their brilliance for, high tech, quick, easy,
Right.
Get rich quick schemes for themselves or their, immediate.
Right.
If Coinbase is giving you like an APR percentage off of the money that you put in there, but then they're using that money that's like that is in that USDC to go do what they want, does that money actually exist that I'm taking out? Or is it kind of like
money doesn't exist, son? Money, I mean, honestly, money is basically a faith-based, especially now that it's not physical anymore. Money has more to do with faith than practicality.
Yeah.
Money doesn't, like 99% of money in the world doesn't actually exist. It's just a digital ledger. The issue is in 2008 when everything melted and everything imploded, the issue was all of the ledgers were centralized. All the ledgers were managed by governments. And this is why the Satoshi white paper was so well received.
How about, getting off that gold standard kind of was a weird thing too,
Of course.
because gold, at least faith-based, go back to all civilizations, Egyptians, love the gold, so getting off the gold standard and putting it onto an American backed dollar really kind of put ripples in the ocean.
No doubt.
So
we'll be back again with our last segment here at 1340 a.m. KOMY. Thank you.
The music plays. I got to think of a way.
How do you shut it down?
Ripples in the ocean.
Yeah.
Uh,
Let's keep talking about that real quick. What?
Man.
Why did they stop doing the gold standard? Why did they transition?
It was Nixon.
Christopher, if you're still watching, I just got your text.
And it was to
My recovery was great.
That's why
And
the world
glad you tuned in here on LinkedIn.
loves the dollar. The dollar is the United States of America.
Yes, honey.
That's our currency.
Finish what, honey?
Of the whole world, the biggest
Nope.
used currency is
Still have 15
US
minutes.
the dollar. Why is it that way? Because in the 70s, we took our dollar off of gold backing, meaning this dollar
Why?
is worth $1 in gold.
Right.
So you could take this dollar and go get $1 of gold. Now we have nothing to back it in gold. This dollar is worth whatever America says it is, because America is so smart and powerful and strong, and our dollar is the biggest currency in the
So
world.
we basically did that so that we could just claim we have infinite money.
So now we can print as much as we want, and ergo we are in trillions of dollar debt now. because nothing's backed by. If we were in, how could we, if we had a $3 trillion debt, you could only do that if you said, show me the $3 trillion in Fort Knox that backs that 3 trillion debt. So we don't have it. So what do we have? Debt is only our word. That's our backing is just our word, and our country as a superpower, as a tech power, and all that. But if someone was to bomb the United States and wipe us out, or crush us enough that we were, dude, it's over for the dollar. It's crazy how that money works that way.
Yeah, it's weird to think that's all faith-based.
Dude, it's a piece of paper.
Yeah.
Here, that thing right there. The note, the post-it note. If we were able to create faith enough in that post-it note,
To be worth
that thing would be worth $1 million.
Yeah, yeah. If everyone agrees, then yeah.
Now, if I drew my,
I mean, that's like
if I drew my face on that post-it note, it'd probably be worth something.
Yeah, I think that's going for $3
Your
million.
face is priceless.
Even
Okay,
if it,
we're
even
going
if it
back
would
on
be
the
a
radio.
fraction. Just kidding, by the way.
Welcome to Beachside Tech Talk here at 1340 AM, home of Schoolhouse Radio. We're here based in La Salva Beach, California, Santa Cruz County, Monterey Bay, San Francisco Bay Area, Central California. We're here in our little spot on the Earth, the speck amongst the galaxies and the universes.
It's crazy how big the galaxy is.
Beyond crazy.
It's huge.
It's
The
beyond.
galaxy does not care about tech.
The galaxy. Yeah.
Can the galaxy even care?
We don't know. The
Yeah,
world
I
is
don't know.
mysterious. I think one thing that's really wild is how profound the smallest microscopic thing is. So as vast as the galaxies and universes are, our DNA, our cells, our biology, our proteins, our neutrons, they go forever. There's cities and galaxies inside of
Mhm.
our cells.
Of a cell. So interesting enough, if I can just say this, I've always wondered about this creation evolution thing, to like, why is it such a debatable thing? My thought real quick is, if there was an evolutionary fact-based system, you would be able to look outside of your window. Everybody would be able to look out the window into the world that they have, and you would be able to see the development from that single-celled amoeba that everybody saw in their microscope in high school, or maybe you will, Malakye, but from the single-celled amoeba, the simplest organism that's living, all the way up to the finished product of man. So you'd be able to see the links. This turned into that. And even if those thousands or millions of years have gone by, you'd still see a consistency, because for evolution to be a reality, it must continue to evolve.
Yeah.
So it would never end. You'd be able to trace back from man to whatever's before it, that it grew out of, But if you look at fossilized things from what they carbon date, call it thousands of years or millions of years, the same mosquito and the same crab that you see that's locked into a shell or into a piece of amber off of a tree that's incredibly ancient is the same creature that we still see today. It's the same mosquito. It's the same crab. We do have forms of adaptations, where you get many types of birds and things like that. But I'm going to leave it right there at that. But I just thought it's weird that you can't look outside and see, for the evolution to be a fact, you'd be able to see the trace of the evolvement. It wouldn't be a break, otherwise it's not evolution. So
Well, we just talked about currency being a faith-based mechanism. So whether it's a cryptocurrency like a Bitcoin or a USDC or an Ethereum or whatever, or it's a fiat currency, a yen, a pound, a dollar. These are faith-based mechanisms by which people can coordinate trading value with one another. In the same way, it doesn't matter if you are committed to a certain religious institution, or you're just generally a theist. You believe in a creator, or maybe you're agnostic. Yeah, you don't really know, or maybe you're an atheist. You're like, I'm convinced there's no God. Wherever you land on that, whether you believe in a creation or an evolution or somewhere in between, it is a faith-based thing. The more science that's done, the more mysterious everything becomes. The more science that is uncovered, the more that people have to reconsider their definition of their theology and their belief around biology. And so oftentimes people so desperately want to be, okay, this is black and white, this is true and not true, but it's not always that simple. I mean, we live in a very complex and complicated environment. And a lot of the time, whatever we believe is true is based on like the way we're feeling at that moment or the thing we just read. I mean, there's a lot at play with all of that. I do like to end our last segment with a story or stories that are kind of inspirational. So Malakye, did you raise your hand a second ago? Go ahead.
Sure, I saw a good story this morning.
Great.
I saw a story about an FBI agent who decided that he was going to use everybody to get something done. And so he was driving. So he's like working in the division where they try and uncover cases. And he's driving one day and he's down in San Diego and he sees this homeless man standing with a sign, but he felt like different about the guy. He felt like the guy was not just like asking for something. His sign didn't say like food please or I will work for something. His sign instead just said homeless, and he seemed calm and content. And so he went over and he was talking with the guy during the red light, and I think he gave him like his sandwich or something. And he kept on going over because that was a frequent red light he would have to get to go home. And he just kept on giving him whatever he had left in his car. And then they became really good friends. And the homeless guy's name was Dennis. And then one day they get this case where someone who was like a double murder or something just came from a different city, and they knew that he was a homeless guy and that he was living with the homeless. And so he's like, wait, I know a homeless guy. Like, this is the only way we're going to find out where this guy is. Because, like, what are we going to do? Just walk into the homeless places where they are or the shelters? Like, they all look kind of similar sometimes. And so he goes over to Dennis and he's like, do you recognize this photo? And he's like, no, but I will check it out and I will find it. And then they find him again, like a week or so later, and he's looking ecstatic. He's all happy. And he hops in the back of the police car with them. And he's like, guys, I found him. And then they go right over to the homeless shelter and they get the guy. And it's just a really like heartwarming story that he took such an unlikely partner and made something really good happen out of it. And that was just something that made me really happy.
Sometimes I feel that way about the gratitude champion. Like he took me and has made something really great out of our partnership. Like I'm the homeless guy in Nigel's life.
You've got a whole lot of hair.
I do. If I take off my glasses, I look very homeless. This beard, yeah, I know. This beard and the hair without this is tech entrepreneur. This is homeless guy.
I'm gonna piggyback off of that because that was just too good. I genuinely believe that I don't believe in coincidence. I think things happen for a specific purpose. And as I think about our journey of where we started and where we are now, I'm just fascinated and encouraged by the amount of fruit that has borne, for lack of a better term. And I think the thing that resonated with me as I was listening to Malakye's story is this. I actively focus on making sure that I don't let things that are negative impact my openness to things that can be fruitful. So I've learned over time to say, sometimes you gotta kiss some frogs. It happens, and I think, being open.
Are you talking about me again, bro?
Not at all. Not at all. I think that if you close yourself off, I mean, the world gives you lots of examples of why not to interact with humans. I'm just going to say it. I mean, right. There's lots of examples. It's ubiquitous, right? Yeah. So I think when you when everything around you is colored with that, to me, the natural go-to move feels like, yeah, I don't need that. I don't want that. No, what do you want? And growing up in New York, it's even worse because for me, I just remember Florida's a better, but walking down the street, someone says hello. It's like, well, what do you want? What are you trying to get from me? Like, like you're clutching, whatever it is you got because you don't want to become a mark.
Right.
And that's a hard way to live. And there's so much, there's so much loss. Yeah.
I'm curious, can you guys tell when someone's a tourist?
Oh, I can.
People guys.
If we aren't looking for marks,
locals.
People that are looking for marks can definitely tell.
That's what they do.
That's all that matters. If you go to a place like New York or Manila or Los Angeles or London and you show up and there's a group of people that are looking for marks, they can definitely tell if you're a tourist. 100%. That's part of their business, is to figure out who's the vulnerable mark that we can go and extract something from one way or another.
Lollipop. Easy pickings.
Easy pickings.
Well, here's a scientific fun fact, right? So I was reading this book called the Wisdom of Psychopaths, and they actually did a study.
The Wisdom of Psychopaths. Nice.
The Wisdom of Psychopaths. Literally, they said that as much as we might think it's different, and conventional wisdom wouldn't suggest it, that people who have those psychopathic tendencies are better at empathizing because it helps them with the victims.
Wild.
That's a thing.
That's
I was
a scary thought.
That is a wild.
Yeah. So
all the empathetic, unself-aware psychopaths out there listening are like, is that what I am?
I knew I came in for a reason.
Wow, a eureka moment.
Yeah. All right, Danny, you're one of my favorite historians in the world. Give us a story as we close up today's broadcast. You got 2 minutes.
Okay, so let's see the story. Okay, well, I'll do a story that's kind of been on my mind lately. I really miss the Seacliff Wharf.
Oh, I miss the Seacliff Wharf.
And I ride one wheel down there a lot, and occasionally I take a walk down the steps. And golly, the farther I am from it, that you can still see it, the more sad I get of it. I just, all my life, I mean, I remember walking out on that wharf.
Wow.
I remember going on the ship itself,
right?
The blowholes, being able to fish off of it. But I was just hoping that someday they'd be able to rebuild something there. But I'm thinking it's just not really in the cards just yet. So my story is, I hope that our local government's able to maybe put something together very soon that's going to bring something iconic and fun to do back to our Aptos area.
Yeah, I like that. That's a nice vision.
So,
and I think everybody feels that way about something in their town, their little community, right? We all want to have our community, our town honored. And we honor this place. This radio station has been here almost 100 years. It's an honor and a joy and a privilege to be on the radio here at 1340 AM KOMY, home of Schoolhouse Radio. And we are done for the day. We'll be back again tomorrow, same time. Looking forward to it. Thank you for joining us, everybody.
Thank you.
love all day.
Bye, everyone.
Thanks for the clap,
Thank you,
Nathan. So, any final thoughts, Nigel, before we say goodbye here to our live stream?
That was a interesting story about missing the wharf.
Yeah.
But how blessed are you to have had experienced it? And for those of us who
the memories are, that's what I'm cherishing now. That's why I realize you can cherish the memory of something. That's why I was trying to say, as I walk by it or ride by it, it's such a picture in my mind. It's like it's missing. The thing is missing near my home, and it's not there anymore.
Yeah.
And it was an iconic piece. So there's no other beach I know of that had a cement boat parked.
So rad.
Yeah.
Parked 100 yards off of the beach.
So rad.
I mean, it's nice that we have the new Capitola Wharf.
Yeah, I'm thankful
I'm
for
glad
that.
they fixed that. That's a great thing that they fixed over there. But they didn't
we've
do
enjoyed
it for the Aptos.
You never know what could happen.
Well, I'm even thinking
call up the Ripple guy.
Yeah.
Take that 9 mil and dump it over here. Even the campgrounds, so
Right.
we had a cement boat and we had a campground right there on the beach of I think almost 100 sites.
Yeah.
That RVs would be able to come down and hook up and literally open their door and touch sand with their feet on the first few steps. I mean, right onto the sand. So, I mean, that's part of the cement boat feeling that I got too.
Right. I know.
Seeing people down there coming
And we
from
love
all
riding
over the
there.
place. And
I know.
Is that fixed yet?
No,
not even close.
Is it?
not only
are
is
they
it not
going to fix
fixed, it doesn't seem like there's not even a pipe going in or anything for anything to ever be fixed.
I think a lot of times they just wait and wait. I mean, think about this. The bridge at Cabrillo College.
30 mil?
No. The little walking bridge at Cabrillo College, that thing's been broken for 4 years. All those students have not been able to walk between the two campuses.
Right. They got to go down and cross the street and back up.
And I tell you, it's probably has to do with insurance or something stupid, where it's like nobody wants to be the first to pay for it. And so they just keep
because
waiting.
Something failed to rebuild it is
a truck hit it. A truck hit it.
Okay, even then it fell down. Something happened, and now to do this again, we have to build it for a truck to hit it again.
It's just
and not fall down.
The thing that's so weird is so often big institutions like governments or colleges will prioritize the wrong thing. So let's say the city of Santa Cruz, the country, the state of California, they're prioritizing having all their ducks in a row and making sure that they have everything just right for them, rather than just take care of the Aptos residents, right, for the beach. Or the same thing like Cabrillo College. I don't know the story, but whatever's going on with insurance and whoever's paying for the bridge is like, oh no, we have to protect this and protect that. Instead of like, how about the students? How about the 10,000 students that go there and need to be able to walk from the campus?
Pay the tuition to keep this institution running. It's like so that their students, they can walk and it's not going to hurt them.
Right. What do you think, Nathan?
I want the wharf back.
He wants the wharf back too.
Yeah. You remember those old days when we used to walk out on that puppy? Remember fishing off that thing?
I remember being Nathan's age and being on there with Dad.
So do I. I remember.
Danny, give him a hammer.
Get to work. Get to work.
Yeah.
That's what Nigel's saying.
Trees. Every year, the next tree that rolls in from the river there, you just mill that thing and put up another stick for the wharf.
Yeah. Nigel, you're going to miss tomorrow, so we'll see you Friday.
Yes, you will. Yes, you will. If anything changes, I'll pop in and I could do. Can I do this on my phone?
Yeah,
you can try.
I could
see why not.
But the only thing you would be worried
about. You could call in. You could just call in and not do the video.
Yeah, try to call it, because if you try and do it off your phone, you're going to have internet problems mixing in wherever you go.
But no, if you just call into Opal on your phone, you can just join us for the radio for those 4 segments.
To call in to Opal,
and then you just won't be on the video. That's all.
StreamYard won't be.
Yeah.
Okay, I may try it. We'll see.
Tomorrow we're gonna have Riza and Kristen join us, so that'll be fun. And then Friday we're gonna have one or more of Malakye's buddies come join us. That'll be nice. And then I'll take a break for 2 weeks, and then we're back on all of July.
See you guys.
Awesome.
Bye, Kristen.
Have a great day.
Okay, see you tomorrow. Okay, my friend. Love you.
All righty. Love you more.
Okay.
Take care.
Bye, Nigel.
Bye.